3,500 years ago, the reason that we're sitting around the Seder table is because there was one rule for the rest of the world and another rule for the Jews. Sadly, the same is true today. Here in September, the United Nations General Assembly, led by the Arab states and African states, planned to unilaterally declare a Palestinian state without consent or discussion with the State of Israel. In other words, to shove it down Israel's throat. Now, the tragedy about all this is that there is such hypocrisy out there, and the hypocrisy has to be exposed. And the hypocrisy is, for example, in the United States and around the world, everybody knows you can't get the same credit today from a bank that you once were able to get in 2008. And why is that? Because the whole world changed in 2008 when the financial institution nearly collapsed. So the banks have a right to say, I remember there was once a Bear Stearns. I remember there was a Merrill Lynch. All that is gone today. So the banks have a right to remember. But Israel has no right to remember that Sharon unilaterally withdrew from Gaza. What did Israel get in return for that act to say to the Palestinians, go ahead and build your state in peace? They got Hamas in return with a barrage of rockets. Israel withdrew unilaterally from Lebanon. When Israel withdrew from Lebanon, Nasrallah was just a local terrorist chief. And Israel, what did Israel get from withdrawing from Lebanon unilaterally? They got now Nasrallah is now the kingmaker and controls all of Lebanon. So Israel, the banks have a right to remember. Everybody has a right to remember, but Israel doesn't have a right to remember. And the UN says, no, we're going to unilaterally declare a Palestinian state, irrespective of the fact that there are really two Palestinian states, one in Gaza, headed by Hamas, the other in the West Bank, headed by Mahmoud Abbas, who is so weak, he's unable to go to visit his own country in Gaza because they will kill him. But Israel should make unilateral concessions, and nobody gives Israel a right to remember what happened to the state of Israel just a few years ago. In effect, the world is telling Israel, go back to the Auschwitz borders of pre-1967. We have a right to remember, but we deny you your memory. That is the very essence of why the Jews left Egypt, because there was one rule for the rest of the world and another rule for the Jews. So when you're at the Seder table, think about that and support the important work of the Simon Wiesenthal Center. We're there every day for you on the front lines, in the UN, in Geneva, and around the world, standing up for Israel, combating anti-Semitism and terrorism. We need the resources in order to be able to continue the efforts to stand with Israel and to speak out at the international arenas on behalf of the Jewish people.